Welcome, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. Today, we're joined with the man, the myth, the legend, Adam Gontier of 3 Days Grace and Santononia. How you doing, man?
Good, man. Good. How are you?
I'm good, dude. I'm good. Enjoying the Floridian hell that is heat down
Yeah.
here, man.
Yeah.
Are you still in Canada?
No, I'm in Nashville.
You're in Nashville now.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I mean I'm not too far from you, but it's not hot here.
It's not hot. Yeah, you guys actually, you still get snow over there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, not a lot. A little bit.
I couldn't, man. Coming from Toronto, I couldn't.
Mhm.
I was like, no, I want to go the furthest possible direction from the north, so there's no
Yeah.
more snow. I couldn't
Yeah,
deal
they're
with
getting some good snow right now too.
it
Yeah. Yeah.
in
So
Toronto,
yeah,
dude.
I hear you. That's why I'm down here.
Dude, yeah. Well, that's Nashville. I know a lot of even my music homies kind of over the years have kind of just gone there. It's obviously the biggest like music part of I think probably America at this point, but it was always
Yeah.
country, and now it seems to just be everything like rock, metal. It's just
Hmm.
everyone lives in Nashville and somehow knows each other no matter what. Like that seems to be the case, which is cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I came here just a few years ago, like 3 years ago or something. And yeah, there's a lot of other rock guys, and very surprising.
Mhm.
But it's cool. It's like starting to have its own little rock scene here, which is it's pretty great.
Yeah, man. It's great to see also like that countryside of the world get into the crazy rock heavier side. Like there's country music now that has breakdowns. That's new. Like,
That is new. I know it's wild, right?
yeah, it's super
Um,
cool to see.
yeah,
And
that's crazy. How do you feel about that?
it's honestly, man, it's exciting because I was never a big country guy. I mean, I grew up still with like rock music and like, I mean, goddamn, like Led Zeppelin and Rolling Stones and Beatles and all of that. But
Mhm.
country was not a thing I dabbled in. And this is something too, I think for the metal scene, like they always think the anti-metal is pop. No, it's always been like the country side of things,
Yeah,
but country kind of blending those worlds a bit more. And then I think also metal accepting that and being like, this is kind of cool. Like, right, country just writes big bangers. Let's actually make like well-written songs with big choruses and then add a
yeah,
breakdown. And I'm like, that's exciting. Why not throw
hmm
that in and see what
hmm
happens, man?
yeah. It's cool, man. There's some cool different bands and artists doing that. I mean,
Mm.
that band Lakeview is, they're
Life
they're
music.
kind of, they're killing it. They're great.
Mm.
Lots of cool stuff here. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Dude, well, you mean speaking of breakdowns, like I was surprised because when we obviously there's a new 3 Days Grace track, Mayday, it came out end of last year. You guys
Mhm.
even threw a little bit of a breakdown in there, and I was not expecting that as a person that's listened to 3 Days Grace, dude, since the X album, like since I was in
Yeah.
like middle school. That
Yeah.
was refreshing to hear. I guess like does it seem like the rock scene in general is kind of moving this heavier direction as well? Like, because it's cool to hear that even from you guys.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel like it's. I mean, we all kind of listen to what is happening in the music, and it just it feels like things change a little bit, and it just comes out in influences, right? We're all just like, what are we gonna do in this bridge? Let's just get into a fucking super heavy chorus or a breakdown,
Yeah.
So yeah, we've done it. We've done it on a few tracks,
Mhm.
and there's part of that too, working with different people on this album, like working with Zach Cervini as a producer. He
Zach.
kind of has, he
Dude,
has
Zach's the
those.
best. He is I think every single modern metal production now, Zach
Yeah,
is somehow either mixing it or involved in the production. It's just that's
right.
it.
Yeah, he's great, and so I think his influence too on us when we're coming up with different parts and stuff like that. I mean, that's his breakdowns are in there,
Yeah.
So
Hey guys, I just want to quickly thank Sweetwater for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. Sweetwater has literally everything you need from guitars to interfaces, cameras, even this microphone I'm using right now that every single podcaster and vocalist uses. You can go right now to sweetwater.com/shop/Nik-Nocturnal to go find all of my personal favorite picks when it comes to gear, or just use the affiliate code in the description. Of course, the big thing, which I'm sure you've been asked a million times since it's happened, of course, joining 3 Days Grace again. First of all, how do you feel? Like, is that a refreshing feel? Is that a crazy amount of nostalgic happiness? What was your initial even vibes when you were like, oh wow, like I'm in this project again. Like this is
I think more excitement than anything, man, because it just been so long, and it just felt like the right time. Everybody, it felt like the right time for everybody. So yeah, just excitement and kind of ready to go. It was. yeah, it took a little while to connect with the guys and, do a couple shows together, a couple things, but, yeah, just more excitement than anything. And definitely some nostalgia, obviously, but, yeah, yeah, no, I think everybody's really, really excited about this next chapter. It's going to be quite the year, I think.
Quite the year, dude. Well, I mean, again,
Mhm.
Mayday coming out was so fun to listen to as a fan of you guys for so many years because I heard a bit of All 3 Days Grace, and then I heard obviously like the modern twist that is natural as a band evolves, as well as of course a
Mhm.
little bit of that like Cervini spice here and there.
Mhm.
But it was really great hearing just again your voice, particularly with Matt's as well. You guys somehow have this crazy duo power with your voices that like you don't like overshadow each other. You just complement each other in this really
Mhm.
healthy way with your voices, which is that's hard to find that combo, especially so
Yeah,
naturally.
I was just talking with somebody about that. We got sort of not lucky, but our voices do blend really well together, and we've
Mm,
we've noticed it obviously way more now with making the record and recording and all this stuff. That
yeah.
yeah, our voices really blend well.
Mm,
Yeah, so we're fortunate for that. That it's working out the
mm.
way we had hoped and the
Yeah,
way it should. You
because with
know.
a lot of bands too, obviously when there's a new vocalist that joins, they try to get someone that has a similar exact tonality because they want to perform the old catalog and all of that. And
Hmm.
Matt definitely had a can do that, but has a bit more of a unique, different voice than yours. So hearing your voice, which is definitely more like that rocky, classic 2000s like huge voice, and Matt's. It's a cool dynamic that you guys combine those two, and it's very refreshing to hear again, like in that new track. I was like, this is sick, man. And again, selfishly hearing your voice over a 3 Days Grace instrumental again, I was like, this is it just teleports you like back to middle school, like all the
Yeah,
kids I
right,
grew up,
right. Yeah,
which is so cool.
yeah. No, it's been great, man. It's cool. I mean, Matt grew up with the band. Like
Mm,
he's Brad's little brother, and I knew Matt from when he was just a little guy, and
right.
when I first met Brad and stuff. So I think for them it was a natural fit, to get him to take my spot there,
Mm.
and yeah, now we're just let's do it together.
Just do it together. How do you guys delegate those vocal responsibilities? Especially like again, I'm assuming you guys have been posting like your writing and all that stuff, getting things done for some new awesome material. How do you guys delegate both on the writing side and I guess even like live? I'm assuming maybe like you probably take the focus of like the old catalog and Matt's doing
Hmm.
kind of the newer catalog. But yeah, how do you guys delegate that stuff?
Yeah, that's what we've been doing. I mean, we're all sort of writing the new stuff together. So we've been sitting in a room together, coming up with all this material and
Mm.
stuff. So
Wait, in
everybody's
person? That's it's
yeah,
2025, Adam. That's crazy to hear people
yeah.
are
I
outside
know.
in person recording
It's
these.
even new for us because everybody's been remotely sending stuff back and forth. But
Right.
yeah, no, we're in a room together and coming up with all that stuff. So the writing, that's not a anything there. So, but yeah, I think the recording the vocals, who's going to sing what and where, it's come pretty natural.
Mm.
There's certain parts that we both now know. Like it might make more sense for me to sing this part or you to sing this part or
Yeah.
and at the same time working with a couple different producers on stuff where we did get some guys that would have some good input and some good just a good idea of what to do with two singers, because it hasn't really been done before, not in this world. So
Right.
we want to make sure we're doing it right, and so getting an outside point of view from a producer or something to put his 2 cents on where the guys
Mm.
should go and that sort of thing. That's helped out a lot too. But yeah, in general, it's been pretty seamless. The
Mm.
whole thing has been really easy to navigate through.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I
Yeah.
noticed you said in this world, like I guess, like the alternative rock world, which it's been a cool evolution. I mean, obviously in the 2000s, that was like the biggest music ever. I think there was obviously you guys. I don't know, 3 day, Breaking Benjamin. Also, I would always kind
Mhm.
of like be that parallel right there, and a few other
Yep.
bands that
Yep.
were just exploding during that era, where it was a cool blend because you guys were able to be rock, but you had really heavy riffs, which was
Hmm.
so refreshing. And it's cool because you go on radio, and you guys, along with like again Breaking Benjamin, were probably the heaviest, arguably bands on mainstream radio at that
Right.
time,
Right. Yeah.
which
At
is
that time.
cool.
Yeah.
And like Linkin Park too, of course, had like big riffs in that world. But that was
Yeah.
something that I think even nowadays, like there's kids that listen to like deathcore and like, you know, brutal death metal, and they're like,
Yeah.
oh dude, yeah, when I was like younger, like what got me into this stuff, I was just like listening to like just some 3 Days Grace, you know, some X, and just like being like, yeah, this is cool, I like riffs. And like then now I listen to pig squeals and breakdowns, but like that's where it all kind
Yeah.
of came from.
Yeah.
How was that era, I guess, for you guys, especially from your perspective, being, I guess, one of the leaders of like bringing rock and heavier rock into that mainstream, that like you guys are such a gateway band to so many metalheads nowadays. Like how was
Right.
that? Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy, man, because I don't think we ever really, we were just influenced by like the bands that we listened to. Like, so it just felt like natural for us. A big influence on us early on in those early days was Finger 11,
Okay, gotcha.
another Canadian band, and we used to watch them play all the time around Toronto and stuff. And the show that those guys put on and their riffs and all that stuff, it was all really cool and different to us. So they were a big influence on us. So yeah, I don't know. We just kind of went with our influences and wrote the riffs that we liked. And
Yeah.
it's wild to look back, look back on it now, like you're saying, it's kind of a gateway for, and it was pretty heavy on,
Yeah.
on radio at the time. So,
I mean, radio hearing a drop A sharp guitar, it was like, what?
right.
That's really weird. Like that wasn't common, and then it became kind of a norm to even nowadays, where like there's kind of octane core where it's cool. It's this blend of rock and metal where you're gonna have, and I even heard it actually on the new track, like these pitch shifted guitars where it's like a 50-50 split, and it's cool that that's like normal and not scary for radio now.
Right.
And they're like willing to accept that, and even some double kick. It's like, whoa, like it's.
I know, right? Yeah,
it's
definitely the radio world is the radio world's changed for sure. You know, it's pretty cool the way it's going, and I think eventually everything kind of circles its way around in one way or another. It kind of, so maybe we get back to this sort of those raw riffs, but it is what it is. I mean, yeah, it's music, and we love music. So
I mean, even from that time, obviously one of the most iconic riffs, as well as choruses being like, "I hate everything about you."
Yeah,
that was something that, like, of course, was that like, I guess technically your breakout, or was it X right after?
No, that was that was from the first album, and that was our first single.
Yeah.
So that was the song that really
blew everything up.
Yeah, and then 1X came out, as the second album, and that kind of solidified everything for us.
Right.
We were able to miss the sophomore slump thing that a lot of, I guess, bands will run into. But yeah, we're very fortunate for sure.
Yeah. Did you guys expect too? Because obviously coming into the scene in the early 2000s, and it being, I mean, you guys have been a band though since what, like the 90s? Like it's Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we were a band. We met in like 1994, and then basically moved up to Toronto to try to make it around 97, and spent about 5 years sort of working at it.
So and question for this, as a Torontonian myself for most of my life, what was that process like? Was there rock and metal? Like, was there a scene even in the late 90s in Toronto? Because now Toronto's, I don't know, Drake when Kendrick's not going after him, and Justin Bieber still. Like, that's all I know that Toronto kind of does. And there's sick bands, obviously, like, Cancer Bats and, like, Alexis on Fire and stuff like that. But, like, what was it back then, just out of curiosity, being a Torontonian, being like, I'm going to go to Toronto, we're going to make it big in the frozen hell north up here?
Yeah, I mean, we grew up in a small town outside, like 2 hours east of Toronto, so it only made sense for us to go there, where there was more opportunity than there was in the town of like 1,500 people that we lived in. And yeah, at the time, like Our Lady Peace had blown up huge in Canada, at least, Alexis on Fire was starting to take off too, right around then. Billy Talent was basically in the same boat as us.
Dude. That's such a sick band that, like, I feel like a lot of people don't talk about as much nowadays, but they, like, dude, some of those songs had massive banger choruses, everything, riffs, all of it, dude.
Oh, they're a great band, man. Great band. Yeah. And they actually, they were pretty much in the same boat as us. signed a development deal with the same company that we did at the same time, and then sort of, kind of took off at the same time. But yeah, we just wanted to get to Toronto where there was more opportunity. So, somewhere we could, I guess, work day jobs and try to play gigs at night, whether that was cover songs or whatever.
Right.
So that's what we did for about 5 years. We sorted that all out, and then just got lucky. We were in the right spot at the right time. Met the right producer, and that was it.
Yeah. Do you ever miss? I know you're in Nashville now. Do you ever miss Toronto, or I'm like, oh man, I miss those below 500 temperature?
Yeah, definitely. I think this year it was a little more. I was a little more like, it'd be nice to see the snow and stuff. But but we get up every once in a while and back and forth and stuff. So I don't miss the freezing cold weather. Like I'm fine with that. It's nice to be there for like a few days, enjoy the snow, the cold, and then come back.
That's how I felt living there. It's like, okay, the snow's coming. Oh my God, it's beautiful for one day. Next day it's slush, and I don't want to be here anymore. I'm like, please stop. It's frozen. I couldn't, man. It's and also I don't know. Like I always would get sick no matter what. It's like it's winter. You can't stop it. It's gonna get you. You're gonna have it's dry too. It's like a dry cold up there. And that was not a vibe. Very different from Florida's warm hell of water and alligators. But unfortunately, I didn't see many moose every day.
No.
Which, on the contrary of belief of Canada, we don't ride mooses to Tim Hortons. We don't have pet beavers. We don't live in igloos.
Well, some of us don't.
Okay, fair. There you go. Some of us there,
That's a generalization, I think. And the other thing about Canada too is when you're a young band trying to work and tour and stuff, touring across Canada, getting a tour across Canada is really tough. Like, it's not like down here in the States where you can basically drive a couple hours and you're in another city or metropolis of some sort. In Canada, it's between the cities that you can play, they're long hauls and it's through mountains. And so I think that really kind of builds up bands. Like, they kind of get just get their chops, and that helped us too a lot. So we were ready to hit the road down here when we came down.
Yeah, I was about to say too, because then if there's so many people that are like, come to America, tour in America, and they don't realize as a Canadian how much that's not easy. All right, dude, we got to pay for crazy visas. I know it's like a little drive, guys, but that's a border right there, and you have to deal with visas and checks and all of this shit. And it's especially for a band, if you're starting out, like it's small local bands I always saw in Canada that wanted to start to expand into the US, like you were not going to make money on that tour. It's just not going to happen if you're just starting out as a local band to go.
The one thing that we noticed, we saw with quite a few of our favorite Canadian bands was just not getting recognized in the States. And I think that it stemmed from not signing record deals with American companies. They signed a deal with a Canadian company, and then that was pretty much all the Canadian company cared about was just Canadian radio and all that stuff. So for us, when we signed our first record deal, we made sure that we signed with a U.S. company.
That's something I noticed. I don't know if you noticed when you started living down here as well, where if you live in America, it is a bubble and nowhere else exists. Like you look at the media, you look at anything. I haven't heard about Canada in a year, and since I've been here, and it's kind of crazy how it's just like it's right there. And Toronto is basically America. It's basically turned into that, and it's really weird even for me. I'm like, I just forget what's happening there. I have to check my weather app. That's the only thing I keep up with. I'm like, oh yeah, it is -10 today. Okay, that sounds right. But I've definitely seen that. It's America, man. It's America. How is it? Obviously, the whole journey of being in 3 Days Grace, and then you left the band and started Santononia, right? How is it with Santononia, that whole journey, especially for so many years? Have you been in there for 10 years? How many years at this point?
Yeah, it's 10 years. It's coming up on 10 years.
Congratulations,
this year.
That's a long time. How was that journey was different from the kind of 3 Days Grace? Obviously, Santononia still being like a big band, but it's still being like not 3 Days Grace. Like how was that? And arguably, again, I've listened to Santononia so much too. Like you guys make you guys are like almost like heavier than 3 Days Grace, but still have like the
Mm-hmm.
big hooks. Like it's cool because it's very you. Like the best way I can describe it, sounds very Adam.
Mm-hmm.
But how is that journey going from one big band to another big band, and now again in turn also joining back the other band?
Well, the beginning of Santononia, and even now, it's still like a. I mean, it's not. I wouldn't say we're like a big band
Mm.
at all. It was definitely like a lot of work and a big push, to try to get the band off the ground. I mean, we had a backstory and a starting place, which was a lot of bands don't have. So
Yeah.
we were very fortunate for that. But yeah, it was just I think maybe for me it was just a little bit more freedom, creativity. I could sort of explore the creativity a little bit more with Santononia, just because at some point with 3 Days Grace, everything kind of it felt like a big machine. There's so many people working behind it
Right.
that it was just it turned into something bigger than I guess I thought it would be or something like that. So yeah, but I think maybe that's the only difference is like, Mike Mushat, Kale, and I will write just like whatever. Mike comes in with some crazy heavy riffs, and then we'll try to tweak that a little bit. So I guess the writing process is a little bit different,
Right.
and we experiment maybe a little bit more. But yeah, that's probably the only difference. I'm a musician, and when I left 3 Days early on, I wanted to keep playing music, but I wasn't sure what capacity to do it in or
Right.
how to do it. So yeah, it just kind of made sense to try to put something else together.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. Did
Yeah.
you ever feel like there was a Santosonia felt at any point like not as, or like what's the word, like underrated in comparison, even though arguably like the songs and obviously the structure and the stuff you guys were putting in were just as good, if not even better than some of the catalog that you guys were kind of going with? Because like Santosonia, I know is probably, I don't know where you would put it in terms of like it's probably your baby as well as everyone else in that band, but like in terms of with 3 Days Grace too, like where does that lie, I guess, in terms of like catalog and feeling like, damn man, like all these songs are sick and some of them like are a little underappreciated by some people, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't really think about it too much. But I mean, I've been fortunate enough, like all the way around to have the chance to have my music, like all these songs that I've written over the years, co-written or written or whatever, that you know millions of people listen to it.
Yeah.
That's so I try not to think about that too much. The only I don't know thing we ran into with Santononia was when we put out Flawed Design. It didn't really have a chance to. It didn't really get a chance to, and it was right around the pandemic. So everybody got hit by that. But we just put out the album. We were gonna set out on a big tour, and then everything got shut down. So that was kind of maybe the only bummer. Was that Flawed Design record didn't really have a chance to get out there. But yeah, no, like I said, man, I've been super fortunate. So it's hard to look back on any song and say, why don't people like that one? It's I'm just grateful to be doing it and have songs out there that people want to listen to.
Yeah. Well, when it comes with obviously you guys have been working with the new 3 Days Grace stuff. Do you guys have any different approach? Obviously there is a technical different approach because now there's two like vocalists in that dynamic. It's very unique. But do you guys have any different approach when it comes to going in the studio or like any kind of goal, or is it kind of just like homies in a room, let's make big bangers and see what kind of happens?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much that, man. Like, and this time around was a little bit different for us. So it was more or less just getting in a room together, hanging out, and throwing ideas back and forth and seeing what stuck. So it's kind of been the same process all throughout the years, but. Yeah, this time around we hadn't really hung out with each other in like 10 years. So it's a little bit different, but in the end, we all want, we all wanted the same thing. We all want the same thing. We're just going for it. So
that's awesome. Yeah. Well, it's great to see that too. I think like, especially in the like alternative rock, modern metal space, it's been healthy to see bands evolve and expand, but also like again that nostalgia factor. I think a lot of people grew up and they were like, "Damn, dude, the 2000s had really good fucking music, like
Mhm. Yeah.
really good." And like same thing with like new metal. Obviously, had like the most like hated thing in the 2000s, and now it's
Right.
like I know I see you're wearing a Deftones shirt too. Like
Yeah.
it's like the thing in metal is new metal nowadays,
Oh
too,
yeah. Yeah.
which is so cool.
Yeah. It's wild, man. Yeah. You know, time flies like it's crazy.
Mhm.
You know, I think there's, yeah, just so many bands and stuff that, yeah, like you said, were hated back then in the 2000s that are absolute legends now. You know,
Yeah, crush.
it's awesome. Yeah.
It's cool to like the TikTok generation too is like adapting a lot of this music, which I don't know how much you're on the interwebs too. It must be cool to see probably like kids nowadays they're on TikTok and they have like again like I hate everything about you as like a sound and it's like popping up and it's like this like I don't know 13-year-old kid probably like doing something like that and it has like millions of views and it's like that's so crazy because like even for me as a person like I grew up with that in the 2000s you know and
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
in the 2020s like this is still like
It's
that's
like it's turning into like classic, some weird
yeah.
old vintage music. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Memes. Well, memes are fun because memes always, you know, they go hand in hand with a song popularity from back in the day too. Like sometimes I see songs getting like revived through memes, and sometimes it's just like, oh, this is really sick, and then they will be so popular again that memes will be
Mhm.
tied to it. Like obviously, with I fucking love Deftones, and a lot of that stuff is very like batty, like it's very like badass kind of like hell yeah. I feel for a lot of I think content creation stuff nowadays, and
Yeah.
it's like it's cool
Mhm.
to see that that exists, and it's a little memey, but also like Deftones is as big as they've ever been, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, this is the world
Yeah.
we live in now, where
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
yeah, it just kind of
Exactly.
goes with that. How do you
Yeah.
feel about with the specifically again the alt rock world too? Because also like Breaking Benjamin came back, and that's something again I just keep
Mhm.
referencing them, but like that's something
Yeah.
that's huge. Nickelback isn't as hated. Like that's a
Yeah.
world we live in as a Canadian. That's a cool world. It's
Absolutely. Yeah.
you know like
Yeah. I mean, yeah, those they're, yeah. I mean, anybody that hits like just a massive amount of fame at, you know, as quick as they did, I guess they're gonna, you know, it's
mm,
gonna happen. And I feel like it happens to most people that blow up, you know, blow
mm.
up huge, get hit pretty hard with, you know, half of those people pretending that they hate them or whatever. But yeah, Nickelback's a great band, man. They always have been.
Nicola, dude, yeah, Creed's back too. That's
Mm-hmm.
it's cool to see, man. Like and like it feels like again as growing up myself in the very late '90s and then the 2000s. It's like there's a lot of nostalgia going on and there's that comfortability, but there's still evolution and bands evolving, obviously with new sounds and
For
you know
sure.
pitch shifting and Zach Cervini being everywhere and sprinkling his little spice.
Mm-hmm.
It's been very cool to see, I guess, that evolution and even like I said, Octane being this heavier modern medium where it's like bands of course like you guys is are perfect for that but also they have bands that are like Spirit Box that are literally
Mm-hmm.
just it's their new track is just breakdowns and metalcore
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
guys can be played right after each other and
Right.
in the modern day that's not weird for listeners which is
Yeah.
fucking sick, right?
Yeah. 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 You're right, man. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think yeah, in the early 2000s, it was definitely different. It was, yeah, there wasn't a lot of experimenting going on and not a lot of cross genres and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's pretty wild.
it's fun to see. Is there
Yeah.
when it comes to specifically your guys' new music, is anything off the table in terms of going crazy or extreme in either direction, like a super sterile track or like a kind of heavier track, or is it very just like let's go for it and see what happens?
We're pretty. I think we're all really open
Mhm.
to any ideas that come to the table, and there's never a bad idea when we're writing. So yeah, but at the same time, I think everybody sort of has the same sort of commonality there. We want to get a certain vibe done for, you know,
Mhm.
for this album. But yeah, no, nothing's ever off the table.
That's good.
Never. Yeah.
Do you guys,
Yeah.
and I see this with a lot of bands too, especially that are kind of coming back and coming to full form in that capacity again. Do you guys ever go back to your old catalog and kind of just be like, damn, like this goes hard. Just like listening to a few records, you're like,
For sure, man.
which I'm sure obviously is with those catalogs, especially during the time, like you guys toured so much, you listen to those songs, like I can't even imagine how many times, like whether it's playing it or having to listen to it in the studio. But is there any songs particular, even for you, where you go back to the catalog and you're like, wow, like this song is way overplayed for me nowadays, but I will still throw down because this is just a banger for me.
Yeah, it normally happens with like album tracks and stuff. Like yesterday, we were actually driving, my wife and I, and Going Down from Life Starts Now album came on, and it's a banger. It's a good one, and I haven't heard it in ages. So yeah, it was cool to hear it. And I was just like, oh, yeah. That's a good tune.
I think that's very important as well for musicians, obviously, nowadays, to like, I see a lot of musicians have a healthier relationship with their old catalog. I feel like sometimes in the 10s, when it came to metalcore bands particularly, because a lot of them were adapting and evolving and changing their sound, that, it was sad to see some of those bands be really like angry at their old catalog because they're like, guys, stop it. We're not gonna. It's not China cymbals every second, and it's not just zeros and ones. Like we're adapting, and I feel like nowadays bands have a much healthier relationship with that catalog. That so many people. I mean, again, kids nowadays on TikTok are like discovering for the first time, and it's cool to see that, man. It's great. I'm glad you guys also have that like healthy relationship because I'm sure like you guys have played that album and it tracks off of 1X, like I can't even imagine how many times at this point in your career. But like the crowd probably still goes crazy every time, regardless of how many times you guys play it.
For sure, man. Yeah, like a song like Riot is it's one of those songs we've heard a million times, we've played a million times, but every time we play it live, it takes on a new life, and the crowds and it's different, So it's pretty wild. It just kind of keeps evolving, and different people sort of, like the songs or relate to the songs for different reasons, and it kind of changes meanings. And yeah, it's really cool, man.
For you, do those songs have a different meaning now that obviously you're much older listening to them, or does it still kind of take you back to the nostalgic time, like when you wrote them?
Some of them do, and it just depends. Just depends on like the show and the venue where we're at, what's on my mind, and what's going on. Right. A lot of songs take on different meanings. Sometimes from night to night, if I'm got different things going on in my head or whatever.
Awesome, dude. Well, Adam, dude, thank you. By the way, I know today it's a little bit earlier, so thank you for coming to shoot the shit a little bit. I love having fellow Canadian Torontonians on the show too. That's actually rare. Usually everyone's super American. So
it's awesome, man. Yeah, be thankful you're down here right now because it's they're getting hit real hard with snow. Like it's like a big storm happening up there, so it's nice to be here.
Yeah, dude. Well, again, Adam from 3 Days Grace as well. Santononia, show them the love. Check out the new 3 Days Grace track, Mayday, and look out for the new spicy, awesome, crazy music they be making and throwing up, and obviously tours and all of that. Dude, Adam, thanks for coming to shoot the shit, brother. I appreciate it. Of course,
man.
And I'm stoked for the new record. Best of luck with that.
Yeah, it should be soon, man. Thanks.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Have a good one, dude. See ya.
All right, see you, man. Bye.